I'm Jake, 31, and 3 months ago I made the dumbest, most expensive mistake of my life. I gifted my parents a full-week luxury Mediterranean cruise, and they thanked me by giving my cabin to my cousin Tyler, the human equivalent of a wet sock. I booked the trip after landing a huge bonus at work. I'm talking a private balcony, top-deck suite, unlimited dining, one of those cruises where they hand you a champagne before you even realize you're thirsty. My parents had always dreamed of seeing Europe, and I figured, why not? Let me be a good son for once. So, picture this. I'm waiting at the port in Barcelona, suitcase in hand, feeling proud of myself for finally doing something that would impress them. They arrive smiling, waving, acting like the loving family from a toothpaste commercial. Mom even hugged me. Full arms, not the shoulder tap she usually gives. Then Tyler stepped out. Tyler. The cousin who once stole the tires off my car because he thought they were community property. The cousin who still lives in my aunt's basement and refers to himself as a freelance crypto visionary. The cousin who has never paid for anything voluntarily except maybe Fortnite skins. He was wheeling a suitcase larger than his entire life's accomplishments. I blinked at my parents. Why is he here? Mom gave me that tight smile she uses when she's about to gaslight me. Oh honey, don't be silly. Tyler's coming with us. I laughed, thinking it had to be a joke. They didn't laugh. Dad clapped me on the shoulder like he was delivering a death sentence. He's staying in your cabin. I actually choked on my own spit. My cabin? You mean the one I booked? With my money. Mom waved a hand. You're young, Jake, you don't need all that space. Tyler hasn't had a vacation in years. Tyler popped his gum and added, Yeah, bro, mental health is important. Mental health? This man once punched his reflection in a Wendy's bathroom because he thought the other guy was staring at him. I tried reasoning, explaining, begging. But my parents ushered Tyler onto the ship like he was royalty and I was the chauffeur. The cruise staff scanned their tickets, and right before they scanned mine, Mom turned back and said, Oh, and Jake? We downgraded you to an interior cabin. No window. But it's cozy. Cozy. Like a broom closet is cozy. I boarded that ship already swearing I'd never do another nice thing for these people again. And I had no idea things were about to get so much worse. I wish I could tell you I handled the cabin situation with grace and maturity, but the truth is I stood in that tiny interior room, if you can even call it a room, and stared at the bunk bed like I'd just been assigned to summer camp for emotionally neglected adults. I'm 6 feet tall. The bunk was 5 feet 9 inches. I checked. Meanwhile, Tyler was upstairs in my balcony suite, probably live-streaming himself pretending to meditate for his followers, all 12 of them. I tried to distract myself. I unpacked. I explored. I even tried to enjoy the sail-away party, but everywhere I went, there they were, my parents and Tyler, being treated like VIPs because the booking was under my name. At dinner, I found them at a top-deck seafood restaurant. The waiter asked for my room number. When I gave it to him, he blinked. Oh, the interior cabin? Interior cabin. I swear I saw Tyler trying not to laugh behind his menu. Halfway through appetizers, Tyler announced he'd booked himself a massage, charged to my account. My parents beamed like he'd just won a scholarship. He deserves it, Mom said. He's been so stressed lately. Yes, I said. Committing light felonies can be exhausting. But the breaking point, the true moment my soul attempted to leave my body and float to a better family, happened on day 2. I was sitting alone at the breakfast buffet, eating sad scrambled eggs, when I overheard my parents at the table behind me. Tyler was telling them, loudly, Yeah, Jake doesn't really need the promotion he keeps bragging about. My crypto plan is gonna blow up soon. I'll probably be a millionaire this year. My parents actually nodded. Dad said, That's why we gave you his cabin, son. You're the one with the big future. I froze. Fork midair. My parents weren't just spoiling him. They genuinely believed he was the successful one. Tyler. The man who once tried to pay for McDonald's with a Chuck E. Cheese token. I couldn't listen anymore. I stood up, walked over, and said, "You know what? I'm done." Dad blinked. "Done with what?" "This," I said. "All of it." Mom folded her arms. "Jake, stop being dramatic." And that's when Tyler, my sweet, brilliant, spiritual Tyler, looked me dead in the eye and said, "Bro, you should have just stayed home. You're ruining the vibe." The vibe. Something in me snapped, but not in the way you'd think, because the universe, God, karma, Poseidon, whoever runs karma on the open sea, was already preparing the perfect storm, and it was heading straight for Tyler. The storm hit, literally and figuratively. 24 hours later, we were somewhere between Sicily and Greece when the captain announced a small weather disturbance, which I now know is cruise ship language for, "Hope you said your goodbyes." Waves started rocking the ship hard enough that the chandelier in the lobby began swinging like it wanted to resign. People grabbed handrails. Drinks spilled. A toddler slid across the tile like a hockey puck. It was chaos, and me? I was fine. Interior cabins don't have windows, so it felt like being shaken inside a washing machine. I'd already emotionally died inside. Physical turbulence was nothing. But up on deck 14, Tyler was experiencing biblical suffering. I didn't see it firsthand. Oh no. I got a front row seat thanks to the massive crowd that gathered near the elevators, whispering, laughing, pointing. Then I heard it. "He's on the floor, green. Seasick as hell." Followed by, "Is that the guy who kept bragging about being an alpha male? He's crying." I peeked inside the elevator lobby. There he was. Tyler, sprawled on the carpet, clutching his stomach like it owed him money, drenched in sweat, crying actual tears, mumbling, "Why is the earth moving? Why is the earth moving?" A crew member handed him a seasickness bag. He missed, spectacularly. And to make the scene even more poetic, the ship jerked sideways, sending his expensive smoothie, also charged to my account, rolling down the hallway like a crime scene witness fleeing. As people stared, I thought, wow. Karma works fast on international waters. Then my parents appeared, panicked, flustered, frantic, and as they rushed toward Tyler, I heard Mom shriek, "Where's our cabin? He needs to lie down." I cleared my throat behind them. "You mean my cabin?" Dad looked at me like I was a bystander inconveniencing him. "Jake, please. Not now." This was it. The moment. The turning point. Because I could have helped. I could have handed them my keycard, that I could have let Tyler recover in luxury. Instead I said, "Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize I was supposed to provide medical housing for the cousin who stole my room." Dad snapped. "Jake, stop being petty." I smiled. Fully, peacefully, beautifully smiled. "Actually," I said, "I'm done being petty. I'm being practical." Then I stepped aside and announced to the crowd, "This man here," I gestured at Tyler, who was now whimpering like a wet chihuahua, "is not my brother. Not my responsibility. Not even my roommate. He is simply a passenger." A woman snorted. A guy clapped. Someone whispered, "Good for you, dude." My parents stared at me, stunned. And that's when karma went for the finishing move. For the first time in my life, I felt absolutely, gloriously free. I didn't know it yet, but this storm was only the beginning, and I was about to become the main character of this cruise. I didn't see my parents for the rest of the evening, which honestly felt like winning a small lottery. I spent the night wandering the ship, enjoying the buffet, watching an a cappella group that sounded like 7 angels and one guy who definitely lied on his audition form. By midnight, the storm had calmed, and I was lying on my comically tiny bunk, finally drifting off, when the phone in my cabin rang. I bolted upright, nearly concussing myself on the upper bunk. "Hello?" I said. A voice with a thick Greek accent answered, "Mr. Lawson? Please come to guest services. Immediately." "Fantastic. Only 3 things are urgent on a cruise: you've won something. You've lost something. Someone has done something incredibly stupid. Spoiler, it wasn't option 1. I dragged myself to deck 5. A woman behind the counter looked relieved to see me. "Mr. Lawson," she said, lowering her voice. Your parents are requesting your presence. It's urgent. My stomach sank. Are they okay? She hesitated. Your cousin caused an incident. That could mean anything, from mild vandalism to full-blown felony. She led me to a private room where my parents sat looking like they'd aged 10 years. Dad's hair was sticking up like he'd been electrocuted. Mom's makeup was smeared. And Tyler, oh Tyler, he was sitting in a wheelchair, not because he needed one, because security didn't trust him to stand without supervision. His hands were stained blue. His shirt was covered in glitter. His feet were wet. I looked at the security officer. What happened? The officer exhaled. He tried to sneak into the spa after hours. He said, the man checked his notes. Your cousin said, I'm here for transcendence. I am one with the water. Rules are a social construct. I closed my eyes. Of course he said that. Mom jumped up. Jake, please. Tell them we're good people. Tell them he just needs to rest. I blinked at her. You want me to vouch for the man who stole my cabin? She pushed a hand through her hair. He's family. Family forgives. I laughed. Actually laughed. It startled everyone, including myself. Family forgives? I repeated. Because when I was 8 and Tyler borrowed my bike permanently, you told me, Jake, let it go. When he crashed my car at 19, you said, Jake, he's struggling. When he stole my birthday money at 25, you said, Jake, have a heart. And now he steals my cruise cabin and breaks into the spa. He didn't steal. Dad interrupted. He needed it more. I pointed at Tyler, who was now humming to himself while licking glitter off his own hand. More than me? I asked. Seriously? The security officer cleared his throat. Mr. Lawson, we were going to remove him from the ship in the next port. Mom gasped. Dad shouted. Tyler hiccuped. The officer continued, but since the reservation is under your name, you can take responsibility for him. Or refuse. If you refuse, we will disembark him. My parents turned to me, pleading, desperate, ready to guilt trip with Olympic-level skill. Jake, Mom whispered. Don't do this. And for the first time in my life, I felt nothing. No guilt. No fear. No obligation, just clarity. I turned to the officer. Sir, I said calmly, I refuse responsibility. My parents froze. Tyler hiccuped again. The officer nodded. Understood. He will be escorted off at the next port. Mom burst into tears. Dad sputtered something about loyalty. Tyler murmured, Where are my shoes? I stood, cracked my neck and said, I'm going to bed. Then I walked out. That should have been the end. But oh, the next morning revealed just how far my parents were willing to go to protect Tyler. I woke up the next morning to the best sleep I'd had since boarding the ship. No banging on the walls, no Tyler screaming philosophical nonsense at 3 a.m., no glitter emergencies. Just blessed, uninterrupted, peaceful silence. I stretched, yawned, climbed out of my bunk, and nearly stepped on the envelope someone had slid under my door. I picked it up. Inside was a note written in my mother's unmistakably dramatic cursive. Meet us at breakfast. We need to talk. Family matters. Ah yes. Family matters. The magical phrase my parents used whenever they wanted to guilt-trip me into doing something stupid. I almost ignored it, but curiosity and the promise of free bacon won. I arrived at the breakfast buffet to find my parents sitting alone at a table. No sign of Tyler. Mom looked like she'd been crying. Dad looked like he hadn't slept. Both of them had that expression I only ever saw when they were about to blame me for something. Jake, Mom said. We need to discuss last night. No, I said. We don't. Dad ignored that entirely. Tyler was devastated. I blinked. He tried to break into the spa and possibly drowned himself in aromatherapy water. Maybe remove the word devastated and replace it with consequences. Mom dabbed her eyes. You can't let them throw him off the ship. I didn't, I said. I simply declined the honor of becoming Tyler's legal guardian. Dad leaned forward. Jake, stop being childish. Childish. I ordered a coffee purely so I wouldn't throw orange juice at him. Then Dad delivered the line that made my jaw actually drop. Your cousin has potential. You don't. He needs opportunities like this cruise. You don't. I stared at him, then at Mom, then back at Dad. You think Tyler has potential? I asked slowly. Dad nodded confidently. Crypto. NFTs. All that modern stuff. Mom added, you just work in an office. Anyone can do that. Now, I'm not a surgeon or a rocket scientist, but I work in cybersecurity for a Fortune 500 company. I protect corporations from massive financial collapse on a daily basis. Tyler once got scammed by a fake Elon Musk Twitter account asking for Bitcoin. I opened my mouth to speak, but that's when I got the first hint something bigger was going on. A man in a crisp uniform approached our table. Mr. Lawson? He asked. Yes, Dad said. Not you, the man replied. Him. He pointed at me. My parents stiffened. Sir, the man continued, we need you to come with us. It's about your cousin. My parents gasped dramatically, like a telenovela audition. Oh no! Mom cried. What happened? Did he have another episode? Jake, this is why family must stick together. But the officer shook his head. No, ma'am. He didn't have another episode. He paused. He ran away. Dad choked on his coffee. He what? The officer continued, dead serious. Your cousin fled. We believe he may be hiding somewhere on the ship. I blinked. Why would he hide? He's getting kicked off anyway. The officer looked uncomfortable. Because, it seems he stole something. Mom gasped again, clutching her pearls. Dad stammered, What? What did he steal? The officer pulled out a tablet and showed me a zoomed-in photo from a security camera. There was Tyler. Covered in glitter. Barefoot. Holding a giant gold statue from the ship's art gallery. A statue worth $25,000. Mom whispered, horrified. He said it spoke to him. I rubbed my temples. Of course he did. The officer turned to me. Mr. Lawson, because the reservation is under your name, we need to ask a few questions. My parents looked at me desperately. And in that moment I knew. This wasn't just Tyler being Tyler. This was about to become a full interrogation, and my parents were going to throw me under the bus so fast I'd become a hood ornament. They marched me down to the ship's security office, basically a floating police station, with my parents trailing behind me like anxious ducks. I kept contemplating jumping overboard and swimming to Greece. Inside, Officer Stavros, the ship's head of security, sat behind a desk stacked with far too many papers for anything involving Tyler. Mr. Lawson, he said, voice like dry seasoning, we need to clarify your involvement. Here we go. He slid a form toward me. Did you encourage your cousin to enter the art gallery after hours? I almost laughed. Sir, I barely encourage him to breathe near me. Stavros didn't react. So you deny participating in the theft? The only thing I stole was joy by telling him no. He made a note, God knows what, and turned to my parents. Your son says he refused responsibility for the cousin last night. True. My parents exchanged that familiar, dangerous look. Mom cleared her throat. Well, Jake didn't fully understand what he was signing. I whipped around. Are you serious? Dad nodded. He gets emotional. I stared at them, stunned, as Stavros raised an eyebrow. Mom continued, and Jake planned this whole vacation. Tyler said Jake told him the statue was real gold. I shot out of my chair. What? Dad added, you work with technology. Maybe you influenced him. Influenced him? I can't even influence Tyler to not microwave foil. I inhaled slowly. Officer, I have nothing to do with him stealing a statue. Stavros leaned back. Good. Because if you had, you'd be financially responsible. Dad perked up. Financially responsible? Stavros opened the folder. The statue is worth $25,000. If we can't recover it, the booking holder pays. Mom smiled like she'd spotted a sale. Dad's eyes swung to me. Absolutely not. That would be Jake, Dad declared. It would not be Jake. I barked. Mom doubled down. He has a job. Tyler doesn't. Stavros looked between us. You're saying your son should pay because your nephew has no income? Dad nodded proudly. Exactly. Stavros sighed. Mr. Lawson, I am so sorry. Your family is very stupid. You have no idea, I said. He stood. We'll keep searching for your cousin. You're free to go. I left shaking with rage. My parents had always enabled Tyler, but sticking me with $25,000 was a new record. And fate wasn't finished. Around 3 p.m., as we docked at a gorgeous Greek island I should have been enjoying, my cruise app buzzed. Alert! Passenger disembarked for security reasons. Then, belongings removed from Suite 14B. My suite. The one Tyler stole. Then, security escort requested on Deck 6. I ran downstairs, and found security surrounding my parent. Both hysterical, shouting, dragging their luggage. They were being escorted off. Mom shrieked, "We demand our son fix this." I raised my hand. Which son? Jake, she wailed. Tell them it's a misunderstanding. The officer held up a tablet, showing footage of Tyler ransacking my suite. Laptop, watch, headphones, even my formal night socks. Mom insisted, that could be anyone. Sure, I said. Anyone with Tyler's face, posture, and IQ. The officer continued, your cousin was located and removed at the last port. He's now in Greek police custody. I blinked. Why? Stavros tapped the screen again. Tyler sprinting off the ship barefoot, carrying the statue like a toddler escaping daycare. He apparently thought freeing it would give him spiritual powers. Instead, it earned him handcuffs and a mugshot I planned to treasure forever. Mom howled. Dad sagged. And your parents, the officer added, attempted to leave the ship to retrieve him without clearance. That's a security violation. Mom protested. We told them we were family. Dad said, they treated us like criminals. Sir, the officer replied, you yelled, you can't stop me, I'm American. Dad puffed up. It was warranted. It was not, the officer deadpanned. Mom grabbed my arm. Jake, fix this. I pulled away. No. I'm done. You're being dramatic, Dad snapped. You tried to make me pay $25,000, I said. And now you got yourselves kicked off for trying to break port security. Dad shrugged. Only a little. Security stepped forward. Mr. and Mrs. Lawson, it's time. Mom went pale. To leave. The officer nodded. Your son may accompany you. Mom reached for me. Jake, please. And everything clicked, every ignored slight, every time they protected Tyler, every time they blamed me. I'm staying on board. Dad's jaw dropped. Mom whispered, how could you? How could you? Security led them away. Mom crying, Dad complaining, passengers staring. For the first time, they faced consequences. And the cruise wasn't done with them, or me. The final day, after they were gone, Officer Stavros delivered a box from Tyler. His backpack, and the stolen statue, with a note. Sorry bro, thought it was gold. Of course he did. I returned it to guest services and said, remove every Lawson from my future reservations. I disembarked the next morning lighter than I'd felt in years. When I turned my phone on, 20 angry voicemails waited. I deleted all of them. Tyler's now stuck in Greece, banned from cruises, performing spiritual bucket drumming. My parents are furious. Me? I'm booking my next vacation. Solo. Balcony suite. No family allowed. Sometimes the real luxury isn't the cruise, it's choosing yourself.